Well, good evening. Glad to see you all out on this night. On behalf of the State Bar of Georgia and the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism, it is my honor to call this 16th annual presentation of the Justice Benham Awards for Community Service to order. I'm Amarita Hanson, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Executive Director of the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism and as your MC tonight. This is always a special evening for us. This year is even more special as we're under the leadership of Chief Justice Hugh Thompson. Chief Justice Thompson has served on the Supreme Court of Georgia since 1994, more than 20 years. Before his appointment, he was a Superior Court judge in Ocmulgee Judicial Circuit, and he practiced law in Milledgeville before that. He graduated from Mercer Law School, and after receiving his undergraduate education at Emory and Oglethorpe Universities. Now, what may not be printed in his public biography is his clear distinction for justice, fairness, and service. And while we could use fancier terms to describe our Chief Justice, I truly believe all who meet him would describe him simply as wise and nice. And those are perhaps the greatest qualities of professionalism. Chief Justice Thompson, would you please come forward to bring us some welcoming remarks on behalf of the Supreme Court of Georgia and the Commission on Professionalism. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvarita. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
On behalf of the Supreme Court of Georgia and the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism, I'm truly honored to welcome you to the 16th Annual Justice Benham Awards for Community Service. Those of you being recognized tonight are truly the pride of our profession. You are the pride of our profession. I'm getting some face backs from some of the guys down here. You are the pride of our profession. For all you have done to give back to your communities, you have uplifted not only the lives of those individuals you have touched, but also the entire Georgia legal profession by your example. I congratulate each of you for this distinguished and well-earned honor. It's fitting that these awards are named after my colleague and friend of some 30 years, Justice Robert Benham, who served as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Georgia from 1995 to 2001. Winston Churchill said, "We make a living by what we do, but we make a life by what we give." Justice Benham is the very embodiment of community service and a stalwart supporter of volunteerism. It has been one of the great privileges of my career to serve with him on the Supreme Court since my appointment in 1994. Justice Benham is a model of honor, dignity, and commitment to community and to family. His tremendous legal acumen has always set him apart, but he has always possessed a steadfast determination to ensure that citizens from all walks of life enjoy full and equal protection under the law. He has been an impeccable role model and mentor to countless young people. Justice Benham has called the legal profession a brotherhood of people reaching out to one another, working together to make things better for everyone. As lawyers and judges, we are the ambassadors of our profession. We must always conduct ourselves with dignity so that our character is beyond reproach. We must treat our clients, our opponents, and our opponents with courtesy and respect. And most importantly, we must do all that we can to improve our society. That means we must all do our part to provide pro bono representation when possible. But it also means that after we leave the office at night, we have a duty to get involved in civic organizations, to mentor young people, to volunteer as Little League coaches and scout leaders, to help our churches, and to participate in other activities in our communities. The Justice Robert Benham Community Service Awards honor those lawyers and judges who enhance the legal profession by engaging in community and in public service. This year's honorees are leaders in their organizations, as well as hands-on volunteers serving in the trenches of their communities. The scope of their service is indeed very broad. I'm proud of each one of you here tonight, and I thank you on behalf of Georgia's judiciary for your devotion to the law, your passion for justice, and your service to your community. Congratulations to each of you.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Well, you've heard about the Justice Benham Community Service Awards, but they grew out of a task force created when Justice Benham served as chair of the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism. They were instituted in 1998 to honor his legacy, and he served an unparalleled 6-year tenure as Chief Justice, during which he focused the attention of lawyers and judges on community and public service. Well, here to introduce Justice Benham is a charter member of that task force and still on today's selection committee, Bill Liss, the financial, consumer, and legal editor of WXIA Television in Atlanta. Bill has been with us since the beginning and is also, I learned tonight, a Georgia attorney as well. Bill, to you.
Well, thank you very much. Well, folks, we're going to try something different this time around. You know, normally when you introduce somebody, I apologize for this thing here. We got to get rid of that somehow. Sort of lean around. I apologize. Let me come over here where I'm not going to be. So now these people. Well, I'll do the best I can. We're going to try something different. Now, you know, normally when you introduce somebody, you go up there and you give a nice little talk, give you the whole background, the whole thing, and you clap and everything, and the person comes up. Well, we're going to try something a little bit different this time around. We've never tried this before, but knowing Justice Benham, I have no doubts it's going to work and be a success. First of all, we all know Justice Robert Benham. He's a jurist, a scholar, a mentor, an innovator, an inspiration, a dedicated husband and father. He was involved in community service long before these awards ever started, and long before we ever started giving them out. Now, you've heard the phrases upfront and personal. You've heard the phrase in his or her own words. We use them on the air all the time. Well, tonight we're going to introduce Justice Benham a little bit differently in what I call a one-on-one. And what I'm going to ask you to do, please, is to welcome Justice Robert Benham to the podium, and then we're going to ask him a couple of questions. Justice? You know, I think by doing this, of course, you see, we do this on television all the time because it disarms people. It forces them to just have a conversation with you rather than giving a prepared speech. Now, Justice Benham, you have been involved in community service long before these awards ever started. You're a lawyer working 24 hours a day. How did you ever find time to actually get involved in community service after practicing law in Cartersville and being an assistant attorney general and all the things you did?
Well, probably it was more an inspiration of my parents and my brothers. I was the third of 3 children. I had an older brother who went to school every day and never missed a day in 12 years. I had another brother who was an Eagle Scout, another brother who was superintendent of Sunday school. I really wasn't trying to do anything. I was just trying to keep from embarrassing the family with what I did. I didn't go to school 12 years and was there every day, so I was just trying to keep up with my brothers. But more importantly, I had parents who were super achievers, and there were things that my parents did that make it possible for us. As a youngster, I didn't understand a lot of things. And one thing I didn't understand, it took a long time to understand, was this issue of community service. In my neighborhood, we were one of the few families who had a car. And every Sunday morning, my dad would load us in the car and drive us to church. But if he saw anybody on the way to church or who was walking on the road where the church was, and if they were younger, he would stop and tell them to get in the car to take them to church. So after the car was full, you know what my daddy did? He made us get out of the car. And they were able to ride to church and we had to walk. And as a young person, I didn't understand, but my daddy told me later on, he says, you get to ride every day. Some of these kids don't get to ride at all. And if they get a chance to ride, they need to ride to church. And that was my introduction to what community service was about and what sacrifice was about.
If you had to pick out two of the most memorable things you've done in community service, I know you've done so many that they just fill them out, but if you had to pick out the most important two, we could go all night, but we only have a certain amount of time, so just the top two that you could think of.
Well, if my wife were here tonight, I would say marry my wife, but since she's not here, I don't have to impress her tonight. There were some things that stuck in my mind when I became a lawyer and was involved in community service. The Bar Association decided that we would build a Habitat for Humanity house. In fact, I think we built 8 or 13 down in Americas, which was the home of Habitat for Humanity. I am not that skilled with my hands in terms of home building at all. And it was my task that day, as while we were building the houses, to nail sheetrock in the house. I was nailing sheetrock to the wall, and I lacked manual dexterity. The hammer left my hand, went out the window, and hit the owner of the house in the head. And the knot just drew instantaneously. And I said, oh God, as a lawyer, you know I'm going to get sued for hitting her. And to my surprise, I went down and I apologized. And she said, you're forgiven. And I said, is that all? She said, that's all that needs to be done. You made a mistake, you owned up to it, and I forgave you, and that's the end of it. And I thought about in the legal arena, sometimes we're a little too litigious, and sometimes an I'm sorry and you're forgiven will solve the problem. And that was one of the defining moments for me, although I did sort of watch the calendar waiting for the 2-year statute of limitations to run on the tort action. That was one, and the second was when the State Bar was working with the City of Atlanta. One of our projects was to plant flowers in City Hall. I'm not from Atlanta. You know, in Cartersville, Atlanta is considered a foreign country. And so I didn't have a vested interest in planting flowers at City Hall. But for an entire Saturday afternoon, I crawled around on my knees in the yard of the City Hall, planting azaleas and tulips and pansies and all kinds of flowers. And it gave Atlanta a new meaning for me because I had invested in it. And now whenever I walk by City Hall on my way to the Judicial Building, if there is any paper in my garden or in City Hall, I'm picking it up because now I have a vested interest in the beauty of this city. And the law is the same way. As lawyers, we have a vested interest in improving the quality of life for all of our citizens, and we do it through the legal process.
You know, tonight certainly gives us an idea of the tremendous community service and the folks here being honored. But do you think, Justice Benham, that it should be something that should be mandated, pro bono service or community service, by the law firms and by the bar, or is it something that should remain voluntary?
Well, it's to the same extent that my dad was mandated to pick up other kids and put me out of the car. Some things have to come from the heart. Some things that you do because it's what you should do, not what you're required to do. And I know there are requirements that a lot of things be done, and I know the law requires us to do a lot of things. But sometimes they can be done best when you think they're the best thing to do, rather than the things that you're required to do. So I won't take a stand on that issue, but I think you get the drift of my thoughts.
Just one last question. If you had to impart something to everyone here tonight, in the legal profession, out of the legal profession, families, folks who have driven a very long way to get here, what would it be? What would you want to impart them? What would you want to leave them with? What kind of a message?
Well, this morning we swore in about 15 new lawyers, freshly minted lawyers before the Supreme Court. And I was sort of caught by surprise by the chief when the chief said, it's your turn to give words of inspiration to the lawyers. I didn't know it was my turn. And it caught me by surprise. And as we were walking out on the bench, he said, it's your turn to give the talk to lawyers. And the only thing I could think about was what we do as lawyers and what our role is as lawyers. But I look at the law in this country different than anywhere else in the world. Look around this room. People from different races, different religions, different cultures, different traditions, and different walks of life. And it would be hard to fashion anything that would satisfy all of us. So the one thing that we have is the law. The law is a standard for all of us. It doesn't embrace all of our religions. It doesn't embrace all of our traditions. It doesn't embrace all of our cultures. But it does give us a common ground on which to meet. And I told the lawyers that your job is one of upholding the law. But understand what the role of the law is. There's a legal standard that makes adjustments for everybody. There's an ethical standard in your profession. There is a professional standard that's higher than an ethical standard. And then there's a moral standard that you must uphold. And as you are upholding these various standards, understand that the law is the lowest standard of reasonable conduct in society. And if somebody tells you it's legal and therefore ought to be able to do it, then you're dealing with a bottom feeder. We have an obligation to have a higher standard, an ethical standard, a professional standard, and a moral standard. And the people who are being recognized tonight are people who abide by that higher standard.
Ladies and gentlemen, Justice Robert Benham.
Well, thank you, Justice Benham and Bill Liss. And I don't know about some of you out there, but I feel like saying an amen. We know everybody here tonight is special, and we're really grateful that you braved the kind of non-storm, at least for those of us in further south in Georgia. But we need to pause briefly and recognize some of our dignitaries here. So are there any other members of the Supreme Court here tonight? Please stand. Court of Appeals, I saw Judge Phipps and Judge Ellington. Okay. And any other members of the bench? Please stand. Judge Jones, Federal Court, Commission member, and in the back. Good to see you. And any other public elected and appointed officials, please stand. Well, good. Thank you. And thank you all for joining us tonight. The State Bar of Georgia is a strong and highly respected organization. We don't just serve lawyers, we serve the public. The bar's public programs include its law-related education programs, Journey Through Justice, this year iCivics, and a high school mock trial program. Some of you may have seen our museum outside on this floor. And we serve a lot of school children, public, private, and homeschool children, and teach them about the role and the rule of law in our country. The bar's leadership often comes out of the younger lawyers, and we have a lot of volunteers here with us tonight from our young lawyers division. Is our president here? Our president, Sherry Edenfield. And any other members. You've seen the very delightful people at the doors, and they are the representatives of our Young Lawyers Division. You'll find more information about our distinguished leaders in these beautiful programs, and without further ado, I am going to introduce to you our chief leader this year, our State Bar President, Patrice Perkins Hooker. She is an outstanding community servant in her own right. She's a past chair of the selection committee for this award. She, in her spare time, is the vice president and general counsel of the Atlanta Beltline. She's a past president of the Gate City Bar Association. She chairs Hosea Feed the Hungry and Homeless Board of Directors. And as president of State Bar of Georgia, she's a member of the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism. She is a model of leadership and public service. So please take time to read more about her in your programs. Her words and her life have inspired me and many others, and I know you will also find her life and career inspirational. She's going to give us a few words from her experience on professionalism and particularly community and public service. So please stand to recognize Ms. Perkins Hooker as she comes to the podium.
Good evening, everybody. I am so glad to come each year to this particular program. I was one of those people who started out being drafted by Justice Benham to serve on the committee, and I have participated with and seen and nominated folks over the years for the past, so this is 15th year? 16th year. It's been a long haul, but I am so proud of all of the recipients. You people are the example of professionalism. You're being awarded the award tonight not because you are lawyers and judges and representatives and members of distinguished service who provided distinguished service in the military. You're being awarded or recognized for your service to the community because you are that person who helps children. You are that person who people come to look for when they're trying to get advice and counsel and they have a nonprofit and have nowhere to turn. You are that person in your community who is known as the spirit for giving back. It is that type of activity that we want to recognize as being the hallmark of professionalism. You're not concerned about how much money you're making when you're engaged in these activities. You're concerned about how much good you're doing and what differences you are making in other people's lives. And I want to commend you for that and for decades of that, not just recently. You all are all shining examples of what professionalism is. And I'm one of those firm believers that service is the rent that we owe for the space that we occupy on this earth. Not that we charge other people dollars and cents for every minute we spend with them just because they're in our presence. We have an obligation to give back, and you all, as of tonight's recipients, have done an outstanding job of giving back. This is one of the first nights I'm not going to be able to stand there with you for a picture because Alvarita has allowed me the courtesy of leaving. Tonight is my 36th wedding anniversary, and my husband is over there. Hello, Doug. Thank you. Has allowed me a few minutes to speak to you, and then we're going to dash out to dinner. But I did want to let you know that I am with you in spirit, even if I'm not in the picture. and that I commend each and every last one of you. Many of you I know personally. I have seen and worked with personally over the years, be it from the Board of Governors, be it from the ABA, be it from a lot of women's issues in the state, be it from the state organizations, from the Chamber of Commerce all the way down to people who are involved in Savannah. And I came down there to visit that town 4 times and met one of the rising stars in Savannah. So I know you, and I am proud of you. And I hope others, as they learn more about you, will understand how you are examples of professionalism. Congratulations, keep it up. And those of you who are in the audience who never have received one of these awards, look at these people and find out what they're involved in and try to also join and emulate them in their service. Congratulations.
Well, thank you, Patrice, for those wonderful remarks. And we truly appreciate you joining us on this special occasion and sharing yours and Doug's wedding anniversary. Hi, Doug. Enjoy dinner on us. Tonight, we honor 1 judge and 12 outstanding attorneys from locations throughout Georgia who have made significant contributions to their communities. They have all demonstrated the positive contributions of members of the bar beyond their official duties and their legal work. Thank you again, Justice Benham, for being both the advocate and role model for these awards. You and tonight's honorees are great men and women. As Dr. Martin Luther King said, everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. And I think after tonight you will agree that all of these 13 very gifted men and women show the greatness and the love in our profession. So let me ask Chief Justice Thompson and Justice Benham. They will join us to present these awards. And without further ado, we present to you the 2015 honorees.
Chris Middleton is one of those people who wants the world to work better. Since 2006, Christopher Middleton has worked in the Eastern Judicial Circuit Public Defender Office. Mr. Middleton received dual BA degrees, cum laude, in Mass Communications and English Literature and Language from Savannah State University. He then earned his JD degree from Vermont Law School. In Savannah, he's been engaged in diverse and numerous community affairs. He was appointed to the Citizens Advisory Board for the Metropolitan Planning Commission and serves as chairman of All Walks of Life Incorporated, which provides arts and technology education to at-risk youth. As a leader of his fraternity, he initiated the Omega Holiday Makeover Project for single-parent support during the holiday season. He's been a member of the 100 Black Men of Savannah since 2008 and a member and former treasurer of the Port City Bar Association. According to his endorser, he is more walk than talk. We can use 100 more people like Chris. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute Christopher K. Middleton.
Christopher Middleton hails from Savannah. This public defender gives back to his community through Youth Civic Bar Association and fraternal activities. Mr. Middleton, we salute you for all that you do. Our next honoree is Lieutenant Colonel John Randall Hicks, who serves our country from South Georgia as a Judge Advocate General for the Georgia Air Force National Guard in Savannah, while practicing law in his own firm in Valdosta. This community servant gives countless hours in service to veterans, the Boy Scouts, and other worthy community organizations. Please watch the screens.
Lieutenant Colonel John Randall Hicks is a worthy honoree who's devoted to our country, its veterans, his local community, and the legal profession. He received his BA with a major in history and minor in political science from Berea College in 1996. In May of 1999, he was awarded his Juris Doctorate cum laude from Mercer University School of Law. Lieutenant Colonel Hicks began his legal career as a Judge Advocate General in the United States Air Force, stationed at Moody Air Force Base. Now with dual careers in the military and law, Lieutenant Colonel Hicks also works as a solo practitioner in Valdosta, where he handles general litigation matters. In the civic arena, Mr. Hicks is a Boy Scouts District Committee member, assisting with legal advice and fundraising. He is also a 10-year member of the Easter Seals Board. According to his endorser, he has a real passion for his community and for important quality of life issues. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute Lieutenant Colonel John Randall Hicks.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Hicks, for your exemplary work as a public and community servant, benefiting your South Georgia community, the state of Georgia, and the United States of America. Miss Nancy Terrell from Macon, hails from Macon, where she has for many years worked for the public good in many capacities. She has contributed much time and leadership to public service, voting rights, and ensuring access to justice for Georgians in need. Please watch the video.
Nancy Terrell has championed causes for the downtrodden and neglected throughout her career. She received her BA in sociology from the College of William and Mary and her JD cum laude from Mercer University School of Law. At Mercer Law School, she worked as a research assistant as well as an adjunct instructor, all while serving as a Georgia Legal Services staff attorney. She was then a supervising attorney in the Dublin office of Georgia Legal Services, as well as a legislative monitor to the Georgia General Assembly, before returning to Mercer Law School as the assistant to the dean and associate director of admissions. Moving to the city of Macon, she was an executive officer and assistant city attorney. She served for more than 12 years as the continuing legal education coordinator for Mercer Law School and is now a member of the Civil Service Review Board for Law Enforcement. Nancy's career demonstrates a deep commitment to access to justice, a selfless worker bee devoted to the hive without an ounce of personal ego. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute Nancy Terrell.
Ms. Terrell, thanks for all you do to benefit the people of Macon and Middle Georgia.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Nora Polk, a former Atlanta legal aid attorney, now in private practice and serving as a magistrate judge, took her passion for advocating for the rights of low-income citizens, women, and children into her DeKalb community. Through church, bar association, and organizations serving women and children, Ms. Polk uplifts many in her community. Please watch the screens.
Attorney and Magistrate Judge Nora Polk has a personal mission statement which involves helping others to achieve their dreams, and she takes that mission to work and into her community. Ms. Polk began her career with Atlanta Legal Aid Society as an AmeriCorps attorney in 1998. She went on to become a staff attorney from 1999 to 2003, and then a supervising attorney of the Gwinnett County office, where she handled domestic relations, housing, consumer, public benefits, and disability cases. In 2007, she partnered with fellow former Atlanta Legal Aid lawyer Adrian Ashby to create the firm Ashby & Polk, LLC. She also served as guardian ad litem in domestic cases and as a hearing officer in public housing review hearings. While continuing her private practice, since 2010 she has served as an associate magistrate judge of the DeKalb County Magistrate Court. With a wide and long record of community service, Ms. Polk has received much recognition. As her endorser sums up, service is just what she does. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute Nora Polk.
Ms. Polk, we're pleased to recognize you for all that you contribute.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next three honorees, all having made unique community contributions, share the distinction of coming from the Atlanta area. Ernest Greer is an outstanding attorney, husband, and father who is a leader of his firm and in many important Georgia and Atlanta civic, social service, historical, and fraternal organizations. He is the first attorney to serve as president of the Georgia Chamber of Commerce while leading other organizations that serve Georgia's underserved and underprivileged communities. Please turn your attention to the screens.
Ernest Lamont Greer is a superb lawyer who has generously shared his talents and treasures in leadership roles that have uplifted the people of Georgia for more than 2 decades. Mr. Greer practices complex litigation and is vice president and Atlanta managing shareholder with Greenberg Traurig. He received his JD from Northwestern University School of Law and AB in government from Harvard University. He is the first attorney to serve as the chairman of the Georgia Chamber of Commerce and is also a member of the Woodruff Arts Center Board of Trustees, Center for Civil and Human Rights, and many more. A recognized leader, he is a member of the leadership class of 2004 and the recipient of numerous awards. In 2014, he won the Atlanta Business Chronicle's Most Admired CEO Professional Service Award. While his endorser calls his commitment to Georgia's underserved and underprivileged communities unmatched, he reminds his co-workers on a daily basis that they are blessed and must take full advantage of their gifts by giving back to others. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute Ernest Lamont Greer.
Mr. Greer, you are a man who can do and does do it all, giving back and paying it forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our second Atlanta honoree tonight is Ms. Vanessa Hickey Gales. She has been committed to public and community service throughout her career. She has created innovative solutions to recidivism, you got it, forged community relationships to leverage resources to serve the underserved, and uplifted women and children in her native Atlanta community. Please watch the video.
Vanessa Hickey Gales has demonstrated a commitment to public service throughout her career as an attorney and as a community leader. She served as a public defender for the City of Atlanta for 27 years. Prior to working in the Atlanta Public Defender's Office, she served as an assistant solicitor for the city. After serving as Deputy Director and Acting Public Defender, Ms. Hickey Gales retired from the Atlanta Public Defender's Office. Wanting to continue her public service, she helped create the City of Atlanta Municipal Court's Community Court to find new solutions to chronic problems historically resistant to traditional judicial strategies. In May of 2004, Ms. Hickey Gales founded the Community Court's Restorative Justice Center, a nonprofit organization to transform the justice system by supporting interventions that reduce recidivism. Now retired from the City of Atlanta, she serves on the Restorative Center Foundation Board and is an adjunct instructor at Brown Mackie College in its paralegal program. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute Vanessa Hickey Gales.
Vanessa, thank you for all that you have done to promote social justice. Thank you. Mr. Philip Holliday is our third Atlanta honoree tonight. This esteemed lawyer is as notable for his community commitments as his professional skills. He has an exemplary record of service to organizations providing access to justice for low-income people, coupled with his own pro bono representation of indigents in both civil and criminal cases. Please watch the screens.
A partner with the Atlanta firm King & Spalding LLP, Phil Holliday has 30 years experience representing clients in high-exposure product liability cases, commercial disputes, and toxic tort litigation throughout the country. Mr. Holliday received his JD from Vanderbilt University School of Law, where he started his community service by representing clients through Vanderbilt's Legal Services Clinic. He's a longtime supporter and leader of the Georgia Justice Project, serving on its board of directors since 2001 and as its president and board chair in 2007 and 2008, and was the recipient of its Distinguished Service Award. He has a history of accepting difficult pro bono matters, including death penalty appeals for death row inmates. He has provided longtime leadership with the Atlanta Legal Aid Society and currently chairs its $6.1 million new building capital campaign. Mr. Holliday's community service, leadership, and countless pro bono contributions clearly demonstrate his commitment to the legal profession's highest ideals. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute Philip E. Holliday, Jr.
Phil, it is our honor to present this award to you for all that you have done, and we know you will continue to do. Thank you. Thank you. Representative Christian Coomer hails from North Georgia. He renders public service in two arenas, namely as a Georgia state legislator and with the United States military as a major, in the Air Force Reserves and in the National Guard as a judge advocate general. From Cartersville, Major Coomer serves veterans, his church, and with many local civic organizations in Bartow County. Please turn your attention to the video.
Since August of 2005, Christian A. Coomer has enjoyed a successful general litigation practice in Cartersville that has created jobs, goodwill, and a strong reputation in the community and with the courts. As a member of the House of Representatives of the state of Georgia since 2011, Representative Coomer serves as a senior administration floor leader for Governor Nathan Deal. He serves on the Retirement, Judiciary, Non-Civil, Banks and Banking, and Juvenile Justice Committees. Representative Coomer devoted devoted his time and talents to our country, serving in the United States Air Force with the Judge Advocate General's Corps from July 2001 to July 2005 at the Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina. Since August of 2005, Major Coomer continues to serve our country as a member of the Air Force Reserve and National Air Guard's Judge Advocate General's Corps. He assists veterans in need through the Veterans Association he established. He is indeed living the Air Force core value, service before self. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute Representative Christian A. Coomer.
Major Coomer, we honor you for all that you have done and continue to do, serving our country and your community. Miss Nikki Noel Vaughn is a former Child Protection Services caseworker who became an attorney and community advocate for children, women, the indigent, and families. This public defender in North Georgia has devoted her professional and personal time to improving lives of juveniles, indigents, and families, and is credited for founding two major organizations serving troubled children and those in need. Let's watch the screens.
Miss Nikki Noel Vaughn took her passion for advocating for children and turned it into a commendable career through community leadership and service. Miss Vaughn received her Juris Doctorate cum laude from Georgia State University College of Law in 1994. She received her BA with a major in philosophy from Agnes Scott College. Prior to becoming a lawyer, Ms. Vaughn worked in various capacities with the Fulton County Department of Family and Children Services. Since 2005, she has served as Chief Assistant Public Defender in the Office of the Public Defender of the Northeastern Circuit. She was a founder of Chris Kids Incorporated, a project of group homes for troubled children. She is a co-founder and now lifetime member of the Board of Directors of what is now the Georgia Court-Appointed Special Advocates, or CASA program, that trains community volunteers to advocate for children in juvenile court proceedings for abused and neglected children. Currently, Ms. Vaughn serves on many boards and is an example of the kind of lawyer who works to improve our whole community well beyond the daily work of our professional community. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute Nikki Noel Vaughn.
Ms. Vaughn, you have made a way for many children and families, and we thank you for uplifting Georgians in need. Our next honoree, Judge Lawton Stevens, has public service in his blood. He has contributed considerably to the Athens community as a public official serving in the Georgia legislature, to his church, the Boy Scouts, and other civic and educational organizations. Please watch the video.
Judge Lawton Evans Stevens has served our state and community as a public official. Prior to coming to the bench, he was elected to the Georgia General Assembly in 1968 as the state representative for the 68th House District for Clark County and served for 5 years. He also worked as assistant solicitor for the State Court of Clark County. He was in private law practice for 10 years, including 3 with his father in the firm of Stevens and Stevens, before his appointment by Governor Zell Miller to the Superior Superior Courts of the Western Judicial Circuit on April 30th of 1991. He has been elected without opposition ever since. In the greater community, Judge Stevens is an active member and Sunday school teacher, as well as a board member of the Northeast Georgia Council of the Boy Scouts of America, Athens Technical College, and the Francis Wood Wilson Foundation. He is past president of the Oconee County Rotary Club. Judge Stevens has given unselfishly of his time, talent, and energy for many years. He is an example for us all. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute the Honorable Lawton Evans Stevens.
Judge Stevens, we thank you for all your public service and community work. You truly make a difference. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now we come to the presentation of the Lifetime Achievement Awards, the highest recognition given by the State Bar of Georgia and the Chief Justice's Commission on Professionalism for Community Service. This award recognizes a lawyer who, in addition to meeting the criteria for the Justice Robert Benham Community Service Award, has demonstrated an extraordinarily long and distinguished commitment to volunteer participation in the community throughout his or her legal career. For the very first time this year, there are 3 Lifetime Achievement Awards, and each honoree has been a member of the State Bar of Georgia in excess of 40 years. Our first Lifetime Achievement honoree is Mr. John Lewis from Cartersville. Mr. Lewis is known not just for his 44-year law practice in Cartersville. He may be even more widely known for leading the redevelopment of downtown Cartersville and with its ultimate listing on the National Register of Historic Places. Mr. Lewis has been involved in other civic and public organizations promoting redevelopment, history, art, and other causes. And most notably, he has made downtown Cartersville, or actually Cartersville, the whole city, one of the leading small towns in America, which we know is Justice Benham's hometown. So please turn your attention to the video.
A former Georgia governor and endorser says, listing John's investments in our community is an impossible assignment. A member of the State Bar of Georgia for nearly 45 years, Mr. Lewis is now semi-retired. He has been engaged in a private law practice in Cartersville since 1970. He's also been in business since the mid-1980s with his own firm, John S. Lewis Property Managements. He received his BA from the University of Georgia and JD from Mercer University School of Law. Mr. Lewis has transformed the North Georgia community of Cartersville into a nationally recognized and most desirable community. Through his hands-on involvement in historic preservation, he has revitalized many of Cartersville's downtown area buildings. His renovation work revitalized more than 25% of the downtown historic business district and resulted in the creation of more than 100 new jobs over the last 10 years. With many honors and recognitions, it's obvious that John Lewis is always looking forward to the next project where he can leave his mark and improve the quality of life in our community. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute our Lifetime Achievement Award honoree, John S. Lewis.
Mr. Lewis, we are honored to present you this Lifetime Achievement Award. We're so pleased to honor you for developing a better Cartersville, for giving it a future that will be much brighter for its residents and the people of Georgia. Thank you. The second Lifetime Achievement Award for Community Service goes to Georgia State Representative, Attorney, and Educator, Mary Margaret Oliver. At the beginning of her career, while working for the Georgia Legal Services Program, Representative Oliver was one of the first women lawyers to represent indigent clients in South Georgia. From there, she saw the need to advocate for women and children through public service in the Georgia legislature, private law practice, and to supplement her work through educating law students, church activities, and supporting legal aid programs. For more than 40 years, she has been a relentless champion for the underserved, minorities, women, and children. Let's view the video.
A lifelong DeKalb County resident, Georgia State Representative Mary Margaret Oliver has devoted her professional life to helping others through her volunteer activities and serving in both the State Senate and the Georgia House of Representatives. Representative Oliver received her BA from Vanderbilt University and JD from Emory University School of Law. Admitted to the State Bar of Georgia in 1973, she has extensive experience as a lawyer and judge. Since 1982, she has had a private law practice in Decatur, and since 2000, she has served as a visiting professor of the Barton Child Law and Policy Clinic at Emory Law School, which she founded. That clinic has been responsible for educating and placing child advocate attorneys throughout Georgia. In the Georgia State House, she meets the challenges to make good laws and challenge bad lawmaking, especially as it affects the underserved, minorities, women, and children. A Georgia State Senator from 1992 to 1998, she spent intermittent terms in the Georgia House as a representative from 1987 to 92 and from 2002 to the present. Working tirelessly to protect children, she spent years reforming the Juvenile Justice Code and in 2013 successfully co-sponsored a juvenile justice reform bill that was signed into law. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute our Lifetime Achievement Award honoree, Representative Mary Margaret Oliver.
Representative Oliver, it is a great honor to present you the Justice Robert Benham Lifetime Achievement Award for Community Service. Ladies and gentlemen, the third Lifetime Achievement Award for Community Service goes to Mr. Alan Tannenbaum. This brilliant corporate attorney may be more known for his leadership and work with bar associations at the national, state, and local levels. Yet over the course of his 43 years at the bar, Alan Tannenbaum has not been recognized, but has dedicated his time, talent, and treasure and leadership to significant community, civic, and social organizations. He has been particularly dedicated to organizations that enable and uplift underprivileged children, indigents, and minorities to lead meaningful, successful, and productive lives. Let's watch the screens.
Alan J. Tannenbaum has been a member of the State Bar of Georgia since 1971, nearly 44 years. Currently serving of counsel with the Atlanta firm Taylor English Duma LLP, Mr. Tannenbaum was formerly the co-founder, managing partner, and general counsel at Equicor Partners LLC. From February 2001 to August 2005, he was Senior Vice President of Legal Affairs, General Counsel, and Secretary of AFC Enterprises Incorporated, after having been engaged in private law practice for 32 years. Well known and respected in the greater and legal community, Mr. Tannenbaum presently serves as Vice President of the Atlanta Bar Foundation. He has devoted much service in the community to organizations and causes that uplift children. He's a member of the Board of Directors of the Hank Aaron Chasing the Dream Foundation, Camp Kudzu, the Kids in Need Foundation, the American Bar Association Fund for Justice and Education, and a founding director of the Children's Museum of Atlanta. Mr. Tannenbaum represented the State Bar of Georgia in the American Bar Association House of Delegates for 13 years. In the ABA House of Delegates, he demonstrated his commitment to charitable giving and community service through the Truancy Intervention Project and as a tremendous fundraiser for the ABA. Mr. Tannenbaum is a true advocate for access to justice through his bar and community work and has journeyed far and wide outside of his legal practice to provide impactful legal and life assistance to many. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute our Lifetime Achievement Award honoree, Alan J. Tannenbaum.
Thank you for allowing us to honor you. Okay, gentlemen. Okay, gentlemen. Wow, don't you agree that these honorees are all outstanding examples of lawyers who serve? Please give them another round of applause. Tonight's honorees have served a wide range of community organizations. You heard that, from government-sponsored activities, humanitarian efforts, youth mentoring, the arts, public service, social services, church and religious activity, politics, community development, education, sports, recreation. I'm tired. You know, and I hope that they have enough energy to keep going on and doing for our community, and I hope that all of us here are inspired to get out there and just do something, because it makes a difference. I have a few people I have to recognize and thank before we close tonight. We have to thank the attorneys who share their time and talent by serving on the selection committee. This year's chair, Janet Watts, Lisa Chang, Mally Davis, Elizabeth Fight, Laverne Lewis Gaskin, Michael Hobbs, Sebron Jones, Chung Lee, Bill Liss, and Brenda Humis. If you're here, please stand. They're up front here, and you saw Bill Liss. Again, let's thank Chief Justice Hugh Thompson, the members of the Commission on Professionalism. Are you here? Any members here? Judge. All right. And of course, our State Bar President, Patrice Perkins Hooker, and the YLD. Do we have any YLD volunteers that are in here? They're probably out there working, but we want them to be recognized, because our young lawyers will have to carry forward with the work that we know we need to do. Our State Bar has great leadership. Are any members of the Board of Governors here? I know some of you are past honorees. Are any past Benham Awards honorees here? I saw Senator Gambrell. Also, I don't want to call too many names. So if you're here and you feel like standing, please do so. And last but certainly not least, I have to thank my staff, because we have a huge staff up there at the Commission on Professionalism, all three of us. And I'm here while my other two are working. Terry Littell is up front, and Aneke Harris Daniel is outside. And each year, we do it all. So thank you all, and I appreciate you, and I know everybody else here does as well. Well, we hope this program has not only informed you, but inspired you. As our President Barack Obama said, we need your service right now, in this moment, our moment in history. I'm not going to tell you what your role should be. That's for you to discover. But I am going to ask you to play your part, ask you to stand up, ask you to put your foot firmly into the current of history. I am asking you to change history's course, because I hope you remember this as a moment when our own story and the American story came together, and history bent once more in the direction of justice. Georgia lawyers and judges, like those honored tonight, are doing our part for justice through service. Thanks again to Justice Robert Benham for uplifting our tradition of service. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of our program. We invite you to a reception in honor of our awardees in the gallery, which is to the right, that way, where the music and the food are. And please enjoy that tonight. Please give us a chance to take some pictures with our honorees and get home safely. God bless.